We're in a game of League, and I'm about to show you how to win your games as VARUS. What is up, guys? My name is MipZ, and welcome back to yet another League of Legends video. So today we are playing none other than VARUS. This champion is actually quite an amazing one because he is one of those champs that is kind of an all-around champ, meaning that he's not bad in the early game, he's not bad in the mid game, and he's not bad in the late game. Also, he has kind of a very unique kit that just makes him extremely satisfying to play. Anyway, in this video, I'm gonna go through how to play this champion in all parts of the games. I mean, the early, mid, and late game, and the overall game strategy for this champion. So I hope you guys are very much going to enjoy it, and I hope you're going to be able to learn a lot, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, or wherever you are. And yeah, I hope it's going to be slightly entertaining as well. For those of you who are new in here, make sure to go down below, click that subscribe button, join into our awesome community. And yeah, if you do enjoy it, hit the like button. It really does help me out for the YouTube algorithm. And lastly, if you want to hang out with me live, then go to twitch.tv/MipZ_live. Anyway, let's jump into this game. And first of all, before talking about the early game strategy, I want to try and kind of cover why you're picking this champion, what he brings to the table, and kind of the overall idea with him. All right, so we're just going to leash for a jungle and run down. While we're doing so, let's talk about these things. So first of all, VARUS is actually one of the most versatile ADCs in the game. He has builds that can kind of adapt to different situations. If you're playing against a very squishy team, then something like running for the lethality build with Duskblade is extremely good. If you're playing against a more tanky thing, you can go for like a Kraken Slayer. You can do quite a lot of interesting things. Early game, generally at level 1, you want to start with your E. The reason why I took Q here was literally just a misclick. You want to start with your E at level 1, generally speaking, because this ability makes it a lot easier for you to get the level 2 power spike, potentially. So right here, it's the same thing we're going to do. As we get the level 2 power spike, I'm going to go up. I'm going to try and disrespect him. I see that he does not respect what I'm doing, so we're just going to chuck off half of his HP and say thank you. So as you guys can see, then this champion does quite a bit of damage. Even in the early game, he's really strong. And as soon as you start, if people disrespect him, you can see how we're poking them down really quickly. What I'm doing, and what you can see that I did here as well, is I actually used the bush to cover my intent. So I walked into the bush so he can't see when I'm firing off my arrow. And as I'm doing this, run away. Okay, right here we need to run away. Whoop. I will see if I can get us out of this. I do have heal. If necessary, I'm gonna try and see if we can not use it. That would be great. All right. So this is actually not too bad considering this was a gank. We didn't lose too much. We didn't even use a flash, so this is pretty good. All right, so in terms of his pros, then he's a very versatile champ, not only in terms of his builds, but also in terms of like the overall phases of the game with him, because he is a champ that, generally speaking, is pretty good both early, mid, and late game. And he's a champ that is very well-rounded. A lot of champs really struggle if they scale well into late game. It usually, or for a lot of champs, means that then they're not actually that good in early game. But this champ, I find myself winning so many lanes with him, generally speaking. The one thing that I think he struggles more with in terms of comps is generally if they're playing like a full engaged comp. So a comp that just want to go all in. That's where you have to be a bit more careful, because you need to play safe and then kind of try and poke them down. I will not be able to reach him. He went a little too deep. It was a good jump by Israel. We wanted to pop our Q. I could have played that better. Maybe I should have flashed instantly. And also, yeah, but it was a little deep for Ornalos to go there, but not necessarily a bad play. Just a play that we weren't fully supportive of at that point. So I'm going to make sure that we, of course, do well in this game. I've so far been able to definitely do some stuff better. And this is something that, for those of you who don't already know, like, these games are played live. So I'm going to try my best to make them entertaining, at the same time kind of show stuff off. So this is not going to be absolutely perfect gameplay, but when there are mistakes like these ones, I will instead just explain what I was supposed to do and hopefully from that you'll be able to learn. All right, so as we walk back down in lane, then this is kind of some of the cool things about Varus. He is a very versatile champ. His ult is great not only for team fights and for bursting. He has a really good burst, but he's also a champ that can really catch the enemy out of position because his ult has an extremely long range. So if somebody is out of position, you can very easily start an engage on him, but otherwise you're generally going to be using as a follow-up CC on a target whenever your teammate has cast something. So in our case, if when Nautilus uses his ult, then we fire off our ult afterwards, because Nautilus ult cannot miss, right? Unless it's spell shield or something, then Nautilus ult will always hit because it's not a skill shot. And this is something we want to keep in mind when playing, that if we're playing with something that has a whoop, be a little careful here. And this is just the burst of Varus. It feels so good to do. I am gonna probably die here. Yeah. Not too much we can do about this, but it should be a huge win for our team. But Yone went in and pretty much suicided to get us down, which is fine. Just fine. Like this is one of the things with Varus, of course, is that he doesn't really have any mobility. So when people go this headless for you, you probably will die. But in this case, like, totally worth it. They died I think three people from the enemy team ended up dying for just me. So we'll totally take that trade. All right. So as I was saying, with Varus, in terms of the laning phase, what we want to be doing, generally speaking, we want to be playing for the level 2 power spike. We usually take our E for this. When you go for level 2 power spike, you don't want to be pushing them instantly or the first wave too much at the beginning, because this will put you in a scenario where the second wave will end too close to the enemy turret, and by doing so, you're gonna be like, it's gonna be really difficult for you to capitalize on this advantage. So yeah, if you don't get the level 2 power spike, make sure that you back off a little bit such that they don't level 2 power spike on you and you die. So just kind of play that part safe. In terms of the lane in general, you don't want to be pushing unless you know where the enemy jungler is. Otherwise, you want the wave to be somewhere like we have it here, about in the middle, such that you can utilize the bushes to hide your intent with your damage. So you can go in here, you can fire off your ability. They won't know when it's coming, or even they won't even know if it is coming as you go in there, because they can't see you unless they put a ward, which is great if they feel forced to do so. So this is some of the stuff you want to be thinking about when playing him. Ideally, you want to try and hit your Q such that it hits as few enemies on its way as possible, in terms, or minions on its way as possible, because this is going to put you in a situation where your Q does a lot more damage. Right here, we'll just burst. I won't be able to catch up that guy, but we will be able to kill this one for sure. Sadly, this guy stole the kill. I'm just out of range. This will be enough. There we go. We got it. Very, very nice. All right. So a couple of things I should have done better in that engage. First of all, when I casted my ult, I can go ahead and pretty much instantly charge up my Q and fire that one off, or just use my E. My E is generally speaking the best one to use first, because if we use our E first, we get grievous wounds, which means that our target, if they use their heal, it heals 40% less. And on top of that, we have our Q for if they flash or jump away or something, because this will allow us to hit that further range. The reason why we want to use an ability pretty much right away as we hit our ult is basically because our ult puts on 3 stacks of the blight. For those of you who don't know what the blight is basically every time Varus hits a target, one stack of this blight comes onto the target. There can maximum be three of these stacks, and whenever Varus then hits an ability, either his Q or his E on a target that has blight, then these blight are consumed and he deals a serious ton of extra damage. So this is something you do want to keep in mind, and this is what you want to be playing around, trying to get these stacks up to burst. Especially if you can combine this on your Q to use your W with your Q on a target that has blight. then not only do you deal a sick amount of damage, but your cooldown is also going to get lowered based on the amount of stacks of blight on the target. So this is really something you want to keep in mind. Right here, we know he's used his jump, so we're just going to go ahead. We're going to do as much as we can. I'm going to try and get out of this now. I, again, could have played this a lot better, but it ended up working out, so we'll take it. And right here, again, I'm going to try and look whether or not she moves forward, and if so, I can use the bush to my advantage to kind of hide my intent, and she won't be able to read when my abilities are going off. All right. So right here, we should probably consider whether or not going for a back would be an option. But instead, we're going to max range a little bit. We're going to try and poke this guy down. I'm going to shove the next lane or next wave. And as we do this, then we will be backing off. So I'll just take these and we'll go for a back now. This will allow us to finish off our Duskblade, which is going to be a huge item. All right. So here in the early game, a big part of playing Varus is really trying to poke your opponent. One thing we gotta remember when we're playing an ADC, and especially even when we're playing Varus, that is very gold dependent. Most champs are, especially ADCs. Then our farm is our #1 priority. You don't poke if you lose farm over it. You only poke if it's putting pressure on the enemy and you're not losing farm for it. So if you're getting pushed on their turret, don't poke unless you know you can hit the farm still. You can of course combine farming with poking by using your Q. That's an option, but generally speaking, we never poke if we know we lose CS over it. If we know we can hit our CS or are in a situation where we can do so, then what we're going to do is simply that we try and poke using our auto attacks and our Qs. Right here, I'm going to move off a little bit. There we go. And right here, we have our Q for ability, and we grab that one. Very, very nice. All right, so we're going to go ahead. Right here, we should be able to get probably 2 armor platings real quick. So that's our goal. And make sure I hit my ability on as many targets as possible. And we're going to get 2 armor platings. The last armor plating here, we're going to damage this down to around this point where minions will simply be taking the rest. Like, I am not going to use right there. I'm going to start moving off. I'm going to start backing. If I stay longer, what's going to happen is the enemy bot lane is simply going to get back into lane, and they're going to force me to either give up minions or give up going for a back, right? And we really want our back because we just killed them. We just got 2 armor platings. We just got a couple of waves. Like, we want to make sure that we cash our gold in. Remember that gold is not worth anything in your pocket. It really, really isn't. All right, so as we move back down, let me just kind of summarize the idea of the bot lane on Varus. So we play safe, we farm up. Varus is not the greatest all-in champ, but he's not bad at it either. So if we're playing against an all-in comp, what we want to be doing is that we simply want to try and see if we can poke them down from a distance, play very, very safe, especially against stuff like a Tristana or something along those lines. Right here, we should be able to grab him. It's going to be a free kill. Especially against those things, you want to try and poke them down. Play very safe. Try and poke them a little bit with your Q. And if you do get your... if they either are very close to each other, use your E to hit both of them. Or if you get an auto attack in there, make sure that you use either your Q or E to kind of consume that blight on the target to poke them down. As you get an all-in comp lower and lower, you can go ahead and you can go for an all-in if you feel safe that it's going to be a free win for you. You should be able to poke them down because you outrange most stuff with your Q if you play your hand right. Against sustain things, it can be pretty much a lot the same thing. It's just kind of poking them down. If you're playing against the Soraka, I can recommend pretty often aiming your Qs for Soraka instead of their ADC necessarily, because she's very easily going to just heal herself or heal her ADC back up again, which is going to put you in a situation where, well, it doesn't really matter then, right? So you just instead poke her down a little bit. That can be much more useful. All right, so we're going to move back down. But in general, play safe, farm up, look for getting your either following up with your ult or catching somebody out of position. With Israel specifically, if he uses his jump at a bad time, I'm gonna ult him. So if he uses his jump and I'm like, oh well, now he doesn't have this, I can ult him, Nautilus can follow up, or maybe Nautilus ults and I will afterwards. Pretty often here you'll see that Nautilus starts to engage, and then I actually fire off my ult maybe even after he gets away from Nautilus, or right as he's like right as Nautilus just grabbed him. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. When you're going for fights, try, generally speaking, to fire off your E before your Q, because your E is going to give that grievous wounds, which is really freaking useful. It can be really, really good for you to have that, because it's going to lower their healing if they have any. All right. Apart from that, especially at this point in the game, you just kind of want to sit and poke as much as you can using your Q. And you can see, like, I'm constantly moving out to the side here. I am probably going to be a little bit of trouble here, so I'm flashing out. Right there, we should be able to hit a good chunk of damage. We literally took off most of the HP. I'm going to be able to kill that Seraphine in the background, maybe? Nah, I missed it by an inch. But you can see my aim right there. I'm looking for the lowest HP there and just being like, okay, I can potentially kill their Seraphine. So even though my Nautilus had another primary target, because of our range, we're just able to fire off this extreme damage. And again, I'm playing from a really, really far. It was a good ult by Seraphine that actually went ahead and stopped my Q. But I don't think I would have been able to do too much with it there anyway. All right, so right here, I'm going to push this and we're going to go for a back. All right, so this is basically early game. We got down the turret. So summarizing real quick, play safe, try and poke them with your Q. Make sure that you utilize, like, kind of whenever you have, what's it called? Whenever you have blind on a target, that you do go ahead and kind of consume that blind using your abilities. Once you move into the mid game, then because Varus doesn't really have any mobility, then you have to go mid lane, generally speaking, and try and see if you can make your mid laner go side lane. I'll try here and see if we can make this guy do so. The reason why this is because then you're closer to all objectives, Drakes, Barons, all this stuff, turrets, and this means that in general you can help your team a lot more. A cool thing that I also kind of forgot to mention is that Varus is an extremely good pick against very melee heavy compositions, and I find myself really like to pick him even against something like, I know Master Yi, like something like a Master Yi, because you can hit Master Yi before he gets to you because of this insane range and really buy your team some time. Right here, I'm just gonna move up. As a Varus, what we really want to be doing is we want to be grouping with our team as much as possible around objectives. We don't want to go for random stuff only. Like going for pointless fights doesn't really make sense. But dang it, they surrendered. But it doesn't really make sense. But what you do want to be doing is that you, generally speaking, want to be sitting as the backline on Varus. You want to go for the nearest target, and you want to try and snipe people using your Q, because your Q can absolutely devastate people, especially in the mid to late game. You can actually win most things by hitting your Q on several targets, which is really insane. Let me just break down parts of the mid and late game just because the game ended this early. But what you want to be doing is you just want to hang back, fire off your Qs, to damage them down. As fights start, you want to try and hit your ult on the target that's trying to move in on you, preferably so early that he's going to be in a position where it roots the rest of his team as they move in as well. So that's kind of what you want to be doing with your ult. Again, with your Q, try and hit either as many targets as possible or try and look for the most essential target, because your Q has an insanely long range. So in this one, I could very easily hit their ADC on the backline, potentially, depending on the position. But yeah, on Varus, you want to group up, you want to stick with your team in the mid game as much as possible, but don't forget to farm. So you need your farm in the mid lane. If your mid laner does not want to move, then you of course have to go to side lane, pick up some farm there. It's very, very, very crucial. But yeah, that's kind of the base idea. Apart from that, you want to go for the closest target. And yeah, just play around your team, play around objectives. Your job as an ADC is not necessarily to get all the kills, even though kills are pretty often going to end up on you. The most important thing you need to do is that you need to take down the enemy nexus, and this is done through taking the objectives and helping your team getting objectives. And Varus's ult can even be used to pick up people in rotations as well. There's a lot of cool usages for this one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you found it useful. I'm sorry these guys surrendered. I feel like this happens quite often, that when we play these games that they just, yeah, freaking surrender. It's annoying. But I hope you learned a thing or two or found it somewhat entertaining. If you did, make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and don't forget to subscribe it down below. And yeah, if you want to hang out with me live, go to twitch.tv/MipZ_live. But that is going to be it for this one. As always, stay awesome, have fun, and take it easy, guys.